So maybe I should ask you first about the program that you have on what Mastering Diabetes is. So it's a great book. It's quite a deep book. It's a long read. I listened to it both on a motorcycle as an audiobook, and then I reread it on my Kindle so I could mark passages and all that. But it's quite a deep book, and I really appreciate it. And by the way, I like the fact that you guys alternated your narration on the audiobook. That was really great. And the funny thing is, I remember where I was when I hear certain things. I don't know why I have that association, but I do.
I do the exact same thing. It's cool.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And I had this white knuckle. I was riding a motorcycle that had a sidecar. It was a vintage sort of thing. And they were a little bit tippy. And I was going to the Mojave Desert, and the winds across the freeway were like 70 miles an hour. So it was blowing me all over the road, and I'm listening to you guys thinking, I'd rather have diabetes than crash my motorcycle on the freeway right now. Anyway.
That's awesome.
So, but it's also a program, and it must have been affected a little bit by COVID. Has been hard to meet in person, so you're doing it virtually, or describe Mastering Diabetes program.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you asking, and I appreciate all the work you've done. You made a great video about us. If people listening to this haven't seen it, it wasn't about us. It was about comparing some of the diabetes experts. I mean, maybe put a link to click that on the screen. It was great, so I appreciate that. We're really, really proud of what we've put together. It's called the Mastering Diabetes Method. And so we do offer a coaching program to help people implement the Mastering Diabetes Method. And since we started in 2017, we've always been digital. So it's always been online and accessible for people anywhere in the world to join our coaching program, work with our amazing team of coaches, and get the support they need. And then our coaches who will sort of, help our members work in conjunction with their doctor. And so we're really proud of that in the sense of we are showing amazing examples and guiding people towards changing their life, and they are then educating their doctor, but just by leading by example. And that's been really fun. But the Mastering Diabetes Method itself, it has 4 components. Number 1 is low-fat, plant-based, whole food nutrition. Number 2 is the use of intermittent fasting for those who enjoy that and want to incorporate it.
I don't enjoy it, and I don't want to incorporate it.
You see, you're the perfect example of somebody who doesn't really need to, I mean, we could do a whole show on that, and maybe we should, but you do fast every night when you sleep. So we have intermittent fasting, then we have daily movement, and then number 4 is decision trees. So those are the 4 components. And through working with our team and our coaches, we also add in a lot of the additional nuances that are necessary, whether it comes to using meditation, how does sleep impact your insulin sensitivity? How does stress impact your insulin sensitivity? So we're really addressing this on all fronts. And we really do take maximizing insulin sensitivity as our mission. It's not like, let's have small improvements. Let's go, jump a little bit. And that's what's kind of confusing in the research. And so you can go to research studies who are citing that, even some olive oil somehow improved insulin sensitivity. Well, there's first off flaws with the study itself and how they're assessing insulin sensitivity, but also compared to what. And so you can see some improvements, but with our program, and same thing with the ketogenic diet, maybe they lost weight. So it gets confusing, but nonetheless, we address insulin resistance in every facet possible in the most maximal way you can go. And so that's why our results are so extraordinary. And so, there's a lot of plant-based diets out there. There's a lot of people that's growing. Every single expert or doctor has their own little version, their own little nuance. But what we do is really focused on making insulin work as efficiently as possible. And that's hence why no oil. It's just far better to have some olives in your diet than to eat olive oil. It's far better for insulin sensitivity. And us being type 1s and working with a lot of type 1s, you can see that so objectively, so clearly with the amount of insulin that's required, with what happens on their CGMs, 24, 48, 72 hours after having a small amount of oil versus having no oil in their diet and learning how to cook without oil, learning how to cook with vegetable broth. It's the compared to that becomes the really important conversation here, depending on what somebody's goals are and where they're going. So our program, it's all about helping people reach their goals. We like to say we're not the food police. Let's say somebody wanted to have a little oil in their diet, or they need to have some wine here or there, and that gets them on the program overall, that helps them maintain it, then that's fine. Like, we're going to work with you to make sure this is sustainable, make sure you can do this for the long term. I mean, I've been doing this for well over 16 years. How many is it for you now, Cyrus? 18, 19?
Yeah, it's been a total of 19 years for me.
19 years. So, I do like to point out that we're not really new on the scene. We have been applying this, learning about it, studying it for a long time, and have been able to, learn and network with the giants whose shoulders we stand upon, who've also been doing it for the long term. And that's something that's a big tenet of our program. Like, we are setting you up for long-term success. We know how to do that. We know what the science shows. And so we have different coaching, whether it's private coaching, small group coaching, large group coaching, educational programs, do-it-yourself program, a weekly meal plan. We just give people what they want, what they need. We hear their feedback, and we see the requests, and we deliver what people need to succeed, again, in the long term.
You devoted your lives to this. I'd love to hear from each of you. Why'd you do that? I mean, you could, like Cyrus, you could be at NASA designing rovers for Mars. And Robby, you have a master's in public health. You could go on and do all kinds of things. You worked for Forks Over Knives for a long time. So why are you doing this?
The reason why I wanted to transition my career from being in aerospace engineering and mechanical engineering to biology and nutritional biochemistry is because it's that important. It is that important. In today's world, unfortunately, the rates of chronic disease progression are astronomical. The rate of diabetes diagnosis is still continuing to increase. For 40 or 50 years now, we have the world's smartest doctors and researchers and scientists working to try and find ways to reduce the rate of cardiovascular disease and diabetes and cancer. And guess what? The rates of diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and cancer are all going up. Name one more important problem than that, and I may switch to that as well.
I love what you're saying there, Cyrus. And Chris, for me, it's really just that this is fun. I just think that everything we're doing with Mastering Diabetes is a heck of a lot of fun. My own, personal perspective on life is just nothing makes me happier than the pursuit of health. Like, I don't go exercise because I should or I have to. I don't eat well because I should. I do these things because I enjoy it. Like, it's really, really fun, and it feels good. Like, it's very purposeful, and we know that there's a need for what we're doing, and to see the joy and the fun that our entire team has at Mastering Diabetes, but in particular our coaches, because our coaches they're like registered nurses, they're registered dietitians, they're certified diabetes educators, or certified diabetes care and education specialists. That's the new name. They have all these, amazing credentials, but in their previous lives, their previous roles, they weren't able to practice what they knew to be the best approach for their patients. They weren't able to guide them towards these changes, and now they get to work with our clients, and they are just so happy. They're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Every Monday we have our team meeting, and each coach is sharing their favorite win of the week, and just like the smiles and the excitement that is on their faces is just really exciting. So for us, it's just, I want to continue doing more and more of it, and I'm really enjoying every aspect of the whole operation.